Let's start from the place where we have stopped. In our last signals and system class, we were talking about using Laplace transform to solve network theory problems or differential equation which is modeling some systems. Okay, it could be a network, it could be some other system. We can model many physical systems in terms of differential equations. So differential equation is a way of representing the system. In the case of circuit, we have seen some examples like RC circuit, RL circuit, etc. So once we write down the differential equation and some data is given about the system at time t equal to say 0 minus, then we can use unilateral Laplace transform to solve the problem and find out what is the response of the system to a particular input. So let's continue that discussion. So question that we are going to take up now is solve the second order differential equation. So there is a second order system which is represented by a differential equation. Okay, so you can think about it as a way of representing the second order system, just like we have seen earlier. RLC circuit is a second order system. It's a second order circuit, we called it. So that is given by d square plus 5d plus 6 operating on y of t. So d is d by dt, okay, because the y is a function of time. So y is the response of the system. It could be current, it could be voltage, etc. And then is equal to d plus 1 x of t. So here x of t is the input, y of t is the output, which is unknown, and it is certain data are given x of t is equal to e raised to minus 4t u of t, and initial conditions are given, and the initial conditions that is the value of y of 0 minus is given as 2, and one more initial condition is given. Because it is a second order system, you need two initial conditions, so that is given as y dash of 0 minus equal to 1. So this is the problem. Okay, our aim is to find out y of t, which is the output. So y of t, this is the output, x of t is the input. The differential equation is modeling a second order system. It's a model of a second order system, how the input and output are related. Okay, so that is given by a differential equation. Initial conditions are given, without which you cannot solve a differential equation. Probably you have studied this type of equations in mathematics, but here we are approaching it from a systems point of view, and we are going to use Laplace transform, which is a very handy method, very simpler method compared to the other methods which are used in mathematics, like complementary function and particular integral. You can solve it in that way also, but for this course we are using this approach, so that when you find out y of t will have two parts to it. One is due to the zero state response, and the other is due to zero input response. So we would like to separate it out in that manner, and that is why we are approaching the problem using the method of unilateral Laplace transform. So let us rewrite, we'll solve it. To solve this equation, let us rewrite this particular equation, that is whatever is given is d square y by dt square. So that is this d square here, capital D square, then plus 5 dy by dt. Y is the response unknown, which we are interested in finding it out, and plus 6y of t. So that is equal to, on the right hand side, d by dt of x. Okay, you can put x of t also everywhere, and y of t. So x of t plus x of t. Okay, so this is the equation that is given. Now the first step is, once the equation is given in a circuit theory problem, what you do is that you have to first find the equation, and the equation can be found out by writing say a KVL. Okay, Kirchhoff's voltage law or Kirchhoff's current law. You will be able to write down this kind of equation, because you should because you know the relation between current and voltage. So if you are applying Kirchhoff voltage law in a loop in the circuit, then you are basically adding up all the voltages which are coming in a particular loop. So if it is an RLC circuit, so when you write down the equation, first you will have a resistance which will have a Ohm's law, and then we have inductor which will have, voltage is given as d by dt of the current passing through inductor, and then the current passes through capacitor. It will be integral of that, and then if you take one more differentiation on both sides of that equation, you will get something like this. Okay, so you will get a second order differential equation, and if the order of the differential equation is 2, then we call the circuit also as second order circuit. Okay, so here we are not bothering about the detail what system it is representing. It could be a circuit like electrical system, or it could be a mechanical system also, like a spring damper mass kind of system. So that also can be written in the form of similar mathematical model, okay, which is based on differential equation. So differential equation is not just limited to electrical engineering, it is there in mechanical engineering and civil engineering, and all other branches also you will come across similar differential equation which is representing a given system. But the solution is what we are looking at. We only know what is the solution at initially at time t equal to 0 minus, and then what is the derivative of that solution at so this is given to us, so that we can find out depending upon some of the physical aspects of the system, like inductor voltage inductor current and capacitor voltage cannot change instantaneously. So those details will be available from the circuit, and then so these are given to us. So differential equation as well as the initial condition is given to us, and we have to solve it. So what is the step 1? The step 1 is take unilateral Laplace transform on both sides. So that is the step 1. Okay, so and this step will basically reduce the complexity. That is when you take a Laplace transform of a derivative operator, we know the property, right, that we have studied earlier. So that property we will apply. So for example, so let me initially show, we are taking Laplace transform of each and every term. So this is d square by dt square plus 5 into Laplace transform of dy by dt. Just I am elaborating the steps here because we saw it a little few days ago. So then Laplace transform of y of t. So this is equal to Laplace transform of dx by dt, and then plus Laplace transform of x of t. Okay, so this is how we because Laplace transform operation is a linear operation, so I am taking out the constant outside it. Okay, so that's all what I have done. So now we are going to use the property that we have studied, and the property, let me rewrite again here. So if you have a function say f of t, so let me write it in a different color. This is just a general result I am writing, and when you take the Laplace transform, then you will write it as capital F of s. Okay, so if f of t has a Laplace transform f of s, then the question is like, what is the Laplace transform of df by dt? Okay, and we are particularly looking at the unilateral Laplace transform. Okay, so if you want, you can denote everywhere with the u, subscript u, which represents unilateral Laplace transform. Bilateral Laplace transform usually we don't prefer in solving this kind of problems. Okay, so if you are taking unilateral Laplace transform, then what is if f of t has a Laplace transform f of s, what is the Laplace transform of df by dt? And the result that we have found out, and if you remember, we used the definition of Laplace transform, and then after that integration by parts we did, and then we found out the result, and the result we got was s into f of s minus f of 0 minus. So this is the result that we got, and similarly we can also write similarly d square, any order also we can write by dt square. If you take the unilateral Laplace transform, what we are going to get is basically s square into f of s, then minus s into f of 0 minus, then minus f dash of 0 minus. Now f dash of 0 minus, probably you know what does it mean. You take df by dt, and then so that is basically f dash means df by dt, and then you substitute time t equal to 0 minus. So this is given to us, these initial conditions are given to us. In our case, y, it is given in the question, y of 0 minus is given as 2 and y dash of 0 minus is given as 1. Okay, so those informations are available to us. So now let's substitute this result. So that is, so the first term, so let us substitute it as s square, and since it is y, small y, when we take the Laplace transform, we will have capital Y of s square, and then minus s small y, not f, small s into y of 0 minus, then minus y dash of 0 minus. Okay, so this is the first term coming from the second order derivative, and then plus 5 into the second one. So we will apply this result, which is s into y of s minus y of 0 minus. So that is the first order derivative. Then plus 6 into there is no derivative here, so it is just Laplace transform of small y of t is capital Y of s. Okay, so that is equal to on the right hand side, similar result we can apply. Okay, and if you apply the similar result, you will get basically s x of s, because small x of t Laplace transform is capital X of s, then minus initial condition of that, that is x of 0 minus. Okay, so that is the first term, and then we have just simply x of s. So this is the way it will appear after we take the Laplace transform. So it is pretty simple. If you know the property, you can just substitute it. So let us keep y of 0 minus and y dash of 0 minus as it is, and similarly one thing I will talk about is x of 0 minus is what? Okay, x of 0 minus, that is, what is the input at 0 minus. You see, x of t is given as e raised to minus 4t into u of t. This is our x of t, which means that x of 0 minus is equal to 0, because this has a value only for positive values of time because of u of t. So for any negative value, even if it is very very small, it doesn't have any value, its value is 0. So that we can directly substitute here. So this don't have any value, so this is 0. So therefore now the next step is basically algebra. Okay, now the differential operations are gone. Instead of that, we have algebra in S. Okay, this is the variable with which we are doing algebra. So we have converted it into a polynomial equation. Differential equation is converted into a quadratic equation here because the degree of polynomial is 2. Okay, so now let's collect all the terms which has y of s here. So there is y of s here, and then there is y of s here, y of s here. So these are the three terms which contains y of s. So let us bring them all together. So that is s square, and then okay, so let's combine these terms. Here we have s square, that I wrote it already, and then from here I will have 5s after multiplying 5 with s, and then I have plus 6. Okay, so this, the whole thing multiplying y of s, that is one term. And then what else? Now let's combine all the y of 0 minus. There are two terms here, so that we can write it as plus. Okay, so let me show it with a different color. This is one y of 0 minus, and here is another y of 0 minus. Here it is minus s, so let me take the minus sign outside, minus, then this is s, and here I have minus 5. So if I take the minus sign outside, it will be plus 5 into y of 0 minus. So that is y of 0 minus, and other than that there is only one term which is left out, and that is the y dash term. So let me put a bracket like this, and then plus y dash of 0 minus. So these are the all left-handed or left side terms. I have collected all of them and arranged them. Okay, so now this is equal to the right hand side, and in the right hand side I have x of s here as well as x of s here. So let me combine. So this will be s plus 1 into x of s. Okay, so we did some algebra and rearranged the terms. So now what is our unknown? Our unknown is basically y of s. So all the other terms we would like to send it to the other side. So that is, so one more step of algebra. If I do, we can write this into y of s. I am keeping only the y of s term here and sending all other term to the other side. So I will have s plus 5 into y of 0 minus, then plus y dash of 0 minus. Okay, so this is the first term, so which I put in the square bracket. Now the sign will be plus because I took it to the other side, then plus s plus 1 into x of s. Okay, so the final step, I take the coefficient of y of s to the other side, so I will get now a final form, which is this term which contain all the initial condition divided by s square plus 5s plus 6, and then plus another term which contain x of s divided by same denominator s square plus 5s plus 6. So this is how we are getting. Now next step is basically solving it. So before we solve, so let me just rewrite this equation to the other side. Okay, so this is what we have. Now if you look at the two terms, so y of s, which is basically the Laplace transform of the output. Okay, so that has two components to it. One which is entirely dependent upon the non-zero initial conditions. Okay, non-zero initial conditions, and the other is entirely depending upon the input. Okay, so we can just segregate this into two parts. One that depends upon non-zero initial conditions. So the part that depends only on the non-zero initial conditions, so that is this part. So this is called zero input response. Why is it called zero input response? If the input was 0, that means if you had not applied any input, the second term will not be there, so the entire response will be due to the non-zero initial conditions, which we are now calling it as zero input response. So if there is zero input, then what is the response of the system? It will have a response provided it has non-zero initial condition, such as y of 0 minus is non-zero, y dash of 0 minus is non-zero. Any of this is non-zero, then we can have a response, and that response in the absence of any input is called zero input response, and often it is denoted like y of zi, okay, zi of t. And okay, so which is basically the inverse Laplace transform. Okay, when I say a small letter, I mean the inverse Laplace transform of this term is what is called as y z of small y is a subscript zi, zero input of t. And the second term is basically the only response contribution coming when all initial conditions are 0. So in that case we call it as zero state. Okay, when there is zero state, that is y of 0 minus is 0, y dash of 0 minus is also 0, all of these initial conditions are 0. In that case the entire response is due to the input applied, which we now call it as zero state response. Now zero state response, after taking the inverse of this term, whatever we get, so that it will be called zero state zs, okay, of t. So taking the inverse Laplace transform is the next step. Okay, so first we took the Laplace transform, then we did some algebra as step 2. So okay, algebraic manipulation. Step 1 I said here, this is the step 1, and then step 2 was algebraic manipulation. Okay, so let me write that also. Step 2, algebraic manipulation. Okay, so that is step 2. Now after that we got this final expression, and the third step now we need to do, which is basically taking the inverse. So before we do this third steps, why not now put these initial conditions. We are given that y of 0 minus is 2 and y dash of 0 minus is 1. So let me just substitute these terms. So it is s plus 5 into 2. Okay, so I can write the 2 here, then plus y dash is 1, so I will write 1 here, divided by s square plus 5s plus 6. So this is in this case. Above it was a generic case, but now I have substituted the given initial conditions, and similarly I can substitute x of s also. If you look at our x of t, it is given as e raised to minus 4t u of t. So what is x of t? So let me write it here. So x of t is e raised to minus 4t u of t, and therefore x of s is the Laplace transform of this. So multiplication by a factor of e raised to minus 4t will if it was only u of t, then we know that it is 1 by s. But if it is multiplied with e raised to minus 4t, you know that it is 1 by s plus 4. So that is the Laplace transform of this particular term. So all I have done is taken the unilateral Laplace transform of this term. Okay, whether if you take bilateral also, you will get the same result, because it is a one-sided signal. So for one-sided signal, especially having non-zero values to the right side, the unilateral and bilateral Laplace transform will give you the same result. Okay, so now let us substitute that. Okay, so this is s plus 1 is there. Now we need to bring in s plus 4 also. So s plus 4 into s square plus 5s plus 6. Okay, s square plus 5s plus 6. So this is basically the y of s after substitution of initial condition and the input Laplace transform. So now we are in a position to take y of t. So y of t, if I take what you have to do, I have to take the Laplace transform inverse of this y of s. Okay, so this will have two parts. As I told you, y is the small y z I of t and small y z s of t, and so so let us separately find them out. So I am going to write it as okay, so Laplace transform of so this, let me now write by multiplying it. So it will be 2s and then 2 into 5, that is 10, plus 1, 11, divided by s square plus 5s plus 6. Then plus okay, this is inverse, again inverse of the second term, which is s plus 1 divided by s plus 4 into s square plus 5s plus 6. Okay, so we have written. So this is step 3. Okay, this is step 3. Step 3, find inverse Laplace transform. Okay, of unilateral inverse Laplace transform. Okay, so this step, how do we do it? So first of all, again let me say this is our y 0 input response, and this is, so y of t has two parts, y z I of t and y z s of t. So this is the way we can write. So let us now one by one do it. So first let us do y z I of t. So that is Laplace transform inverse of this particular term, where numerator is 2s plus 11, and what is the denominator? You can write if because you know the roots of this denominator, if you multiply s plus 2 into s plus 3, right, you will get this s plus 2 into s plus 3. So this way you can write it. Okay, so now the way to find is like you have a term which is not in a standard form, so you need to convert that into a standard form, then only you can take the inverse. That is the approach we have taken. So we have to write this like a by s plus 2 plus b by s plus 3, and we have to find this a and b. So to find a and b, so what we can do, we can say that where 2s plus 1 is equal to a into s plus 3 plus b into s plus 2. Okay, so what I did, I just I took the inner term and equated to this. Okay, whatever is here, that is the same as this. I equated it and then multiplied with the denominator on both sides. Okay, so now let's find out. So there are multiple ways you can do this, equating the coefficients of different powers of s, or by substituting different values of s. So let us substitute different values of s. Let's say s is equal to minus 2. If you put s is equal to minus 2, then what is going to happen? Here it is minus 4 plus 1 plus 11, so that will be 7. Okay, yeah, minus 11 minus 4, 11 minus 4 is 7. So plus 7 is equal to, and on the right hand side, if I put s is equal to minus 2, so then you can see that it will be 3 minus 2, which is 1. So immediately what you get is you get it as A you get it as 7. Okay, so A is obtained. Now similarly you can substitute for S is equal to -3, and you can directly get B, or you can equate. So now I am going to equate the let's say the powers of the coefficient of so equating the coefficient of S raised to 1. So on the LHS the coefficient is 2, and the other term is constant, so that doesn't matter. And on the RHS the coefficient of S is 1 is A. From the first term it is A, on the second term it is B. So A plus B is equal to 2, which means that B is equal to 2 minus A. And what is 2 minus A? It is -5. So I got A and B. So now I can substitute this value for A and B. So therefore my 0 input response is going to be Laplace transform inverse. A I am going to substitute it as 7 by S plus 2, and then I have -5, so I will write -5 by S plus 3. Now this is now in standard form. So you can write it as Laplace transform of this minus Laplace transform of this. Okay, that is Laplace transform inverse of 7. Also you can take it outside, and then this will be more standard. Okay, 7 into Laplace inverse of 1 by S plus 2, then -5 into Laplace transform inverse of 1 by S plus 3. Okay, so that is basically 7 into, what is the Laplace transform of this term? Okay, so that is a standard term, which is e raised to minus 2t u of t, and then -5 into similarly what is the Laplace transform of the second term, that is e raised to minus 3t u of t. So now we have got the result. You can take, if you want, the common u of t outside, and write it as e raised to minus the entire thing multiplied by u of t. So this is what? This is the response that you should get in the absence of any input. Okay, that is when x of t equal to 0. Okay, if you let the system, okay, and we have done a similar analysis in the lab also. Okay, we took a circuit and we gave non-zero initial conditions, and then in the absence of any input we saw some result coming for first order system and second order system. Okay, so that will be of this form, and from this response it is very clear that there will be no oscillations for this second order system. So second order system can have different kinds of responses. One is called undamped oscillations, the other is underdamped oscillation, the third is like overdamped. So this is the case of overdamped. Okay, so we can say that the system have a overdamped zero input response, overdamped response. Why do I say overdamped response? Because there is no exponential here, there is no oscillation, sine or cosine or anything like that. It is just a decaying function, so it is called overdamped response. Okay, and now why the system has overdamped response? The reason is the differential equation is such that it doesn't permit any oscillations. Okay, that means the component values which are representing the system, say if it is an electrical system, the value of inductor, capacitor, resistance are such that it gives overdamped response. Okay, so that is encoded in this the roots s plus 2 into s plus 3. Okay, so the two roots are basically real. Okay, so if the value of s in the polynomial, that is the root of this quadratic term, which we wrote it as s square plus 5s plus 6. Okay, when you solve this and find out the root, if the root turn out to be s is equal to some negative real values, then it will be a case of overdamped response. So you could also have complex conjugate roots. In such cases you will have some oscillations. So that is the connection between the nature of response and the type of root that you will get. Okay, in such cases we will have the response written in the form of sine function or cosine function. Okay, we have done such problems earlier where we had the roots. Yes, questions?
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, about the notation that you have used here, y of z of I and y of z of s.
Correct.
Sir, does it mean that it is a complex quantity or something?
No.
It's just a notation.
Yeah, this is z for 0, I for input. 0 input.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. I have
Yes, sir.
written that explicitly here. 0 input response y z. It's basically a subscript for y. So basically what I am saying is y of t has two parts. Okay, so if I rewrite it again, so here I said the LHS is y of t. So that is y of t is equal to y of z I t plus y of z s t. These are basically subscript. I am saying the response has two parts. One is called zero input response and the other is zero state response.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you find the zero input response, which is what we did now, we could have sine and cosine, or we could also write it in terms of exponential, complex exponential, because you can have complex conjugate roots. Okay, here it is the roots are -2 and -3, okay, which are real valued roots, but all the time it need not be real valued, it could be a complex valued root. In such cases we have done one problem, if you remember, in an earlier class on signals and systems, in the topic of inverse Laplace transform, we have done a couple of problems. One of the problem had complex roots, and you can look at that problem and you will see that the solution was written in terms of sines and cosines. So sines and cosines, if they are arising in the solutions or in the response finally, that means there are oscillations. But if it is just a exponential function which is decaying with no complex values, then it is a case of overdamped response. So second order, in potentially it can have a different kind of response, and that depends upon the value of the components in the system. Okay, for electrical system, when we did the lab for an RLC circuit, what we did was we changed the value of resistance, right? And when we reduced the value of resistance, we saw that the response become oscillatory. But if you put a very large value of resistance, that means a lot of energy is getting dissipated and it is getting overdamped, and then you will have decaying functions like these exponentials. So you have to go back to those labs. Anyhow, I have asked you to submit the reports also. So when you do that, you keep this theory in mind and you will learn a lot if you do it sincerely. Okay, now we have one more part that is left, which is basically zero state response. So let me just copy that part. So we also need to find out the response, which is basically the inverse of this term. I'm not able to copy, so some problem here. So let us by heart this term, s plus 1, s plus 4, and then the same polynomial term. Okay, so zero state response. So y of zero state response is Laplace transform inverse of we have s plus 1 then divided by s plus 4 then we have s square plus 5s plus 6, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing and the inverse that we need to find out. Now how do we find out this? Again, the method is the same. We need to expand the fraction by partial expanding it in partial fraction. So let's take what is inside here, that is s plus 1, and then s plus so let me factorize s square plus 5s plus 6 like before, that is s plus 2 into s plus 3. Now we have s plus 4 also. So if it was absent, then it would look similar to the previous case. So now this I can write it as a by s plus 2 plus b by s plus 3 plus c by s plus 4. So this way I can write. Now if I multiply with this denominator of the left hand side, then I am going to get s plus 1 is equal to a into s plus 3 into s plus 4 plus b into s plus 2 into s plus 4 plus c into s plus 2 into s plus 3. Okay. So now we are in a position to find out the value of a, b and c. So like before, I am going to take different values of s is equal to, say, if I want a, what should I put? I should put s is equal to minus 2. So if I put s is equal to minus 2, then the LHS is going to become minus 1. Okay, because minus 2 plus 1, that is minus 1, and the RHS, here we have a b term, we have the second term, we have s plus 2, which will go to 0 because s is minus 2, and similarly here also s plus 2 is there, so that c and b term will goes away, and the only term that will survive is basically a into, so this is minus 2 plus 3, that is 1 into, and here it is minus 2 plus 4, so that is going to be it is going to be 2. So which means that a is equal to minus 1 by 2. So that is the first coefficient. Now if I want b, then I should put s is equal to minus 3. If I put s is equal to minus 3, so minus 3 plus 1, that is minus 2, and a term will go away, c term will go away, only term that survive is b into minus 3 minus 3 plus 2, that is minus 1, and then minus 3 plus 4, that is 1. So which means that b is equal to minus 2 divided by minus 1, which is 2. Then let's put s is equal to what? S is equal to minus 4. So LHS is going to become minus 4 plus 1, that is minus 3, and then the only term that's going to survive is the term that doesn't contain s plus 4, which is the last term. So that will be c into, so minus 4 plus 2, which is minus 2, and then we have minus 4 plus 3, which is minus 1. So these two minus will get cancelled, and it will be c equal to minus 3 by 2. Okay, so we have got all these coefficients, or these are called residues. Okay, these values are called residues. In mathematics, that is the term that we use, residues. So a and b, whatever is the numerator of these terms, they are called the residues. Once we find all these residues, then you just take the inverse, because the y0 state response is equal to Laplace transform inverse of a by a. Now let's substitute a. Minus half that is our A, into 1 by s plus 2, and then plus 2 into 1 by s plus 3 plus C. C is what? Minus 3 by 2 into 1 by s plus 4. Okay, so these are the residues which I put in bracket. Okay, so this is the way it comes after substitution. Now little more rearrangement we can do. Minus half into Laplace transform inverse of 1 by s plus 2, then plus 2 into Laplace transform inverse of, okay, this inverse here, of 1 by s plus 3, then minus 3 by 2 Laplace transform inverse of 1 by s plus 4. So this is going to be equal to what? So this is half. What is the Laplace transform of this term? It is e raised to minus 2t u of t plus 2 e raised to minus 3t u of t minus 3 by 2 e raised to minus 4t u of t. Okay, so that is what we will get. If you want, we can combine this. So all the u of t you can take it outside, and you can write it as half e raised to minus 2t plus 2 e raised to minus 3t minus 3 by 2 e raised to minus 4t, the entire thing. Okay, so if you look at the different terms here in this zero state response, you see that one term is this particular term is coming from the input, okay, because we have applied an input of that kind, e raised to minus 4t into u of t. So that is how this term came. But from where does these other two comes? This is a entirely zero state response. So the answer is that the other two terms comes naturally. Okay, it is the there is a natural response of the system. Okay, that depends basically on the component values, okay, which is inherent in the system. Okay, the system always favors certain type of response. If it is getting disturbed from a rest, okay, it will, just like if you if you have a swing, and then if you just disturb it little bit, then there is a natural frequency at which it is going to oscillate. So that is a natural response. Even after the input is moved, the disturbance is gone, there is a favored natural response. So the first two terms is basically coming from that, and they are the terms which are actually, they are the kind of terms that are present in the zero input response also. So zero input response, we had the first two terms. So if I rewrite, so this is okay, so that is y is that s of t is this, and we earlier had y is that I of t, and that was basically 7 e raised to minus 2t, okay, and then we had minus 5 e raised to minus 3t. Okay, so these first two terms were the only terms which are present in the zero input response. Okay, so this is entirely due to the natural behavior of the system. We are not forcing any response, any particular, okay, but a particular swing can be forced to oscillate at a different frequency. Okay, that is also possible. You can apply a force which is periodic in nature, but having a frequency different from its natural frequency. So that is the highlighted term here. Okay, so this term is basically a forced response part. And Okay, so now let me also compare it with the usual mathematical way. If you do, you will not get this separation into zero state and zero input response, but what actually you will get is basically the total response, which is the sum of these two. Okay, so let
Sir,
me, yes,
can I ask a question?
yes.
Sir, how you are able to identify the first two terms are due to a natural response?
Uh-huh. Okay, so I told you we have applied a particular input. What is the input that we applied? Uh, it is e raised to minus 4t u of t. That is the input that we applied, right? Remember, I took the inverse of the.
So in the question
Yeah. It was given in the question. X of t is given as e raised to minus 4t. This one.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is given in the question. This is the input that we have applied. So if this is the input, there will be a component of or a response which is because of that input. So that that term is already present. E raised to minus 4t u of t. That term is already present in the final zero state response. But there are some additional terms also. That is why I was commenting that they are natural terms. You see that okay, this is understandable. In the zero state, that is the response of the system entirely due to the input, there are three terms. So one of the term, this 3 by 2 e raised to minus 4t u of t, this is, you see, this is the kind of input that we gave. So therefore that you can say that that term has arrived. But what about the other two terms? The other two terms are basically characterizing the system. It is the natural response of the system. Okay, whereas this term is called the forced response of the system. The response which is similar to the kind of input that we applied, that is called the forced response. The highlighted term is the forced response, and if you add up all the other terms, that is called the natural response. So now let me add these two, that is the zero state response plus zero input response. Both if I add it, so that is so there is e raised to minus 2t in both, and there is a minus half. So 7 minus half if we do, so that is how much? That is 6.5. We can write it as 13 by 2 e raised to minus 2t. That is one term, and then we have 2 minus 5, that is minus 3 e raised to minus 3t, and then okay, so let me say this is into u of t plus, or rather it is minus, so there is another term which is 3 by 2 e raised to minus 4t u of t. Okay, let me write it as this way. So if you had solved with the mathematical, the normal partial or the differential equation methods, ordinary differential equation solution method which you studied in mathematics, you will get the solution something like this. And so how do you label this solution? This is called the complementary function, and this is called the particular integral. Are you familiar with these terms from mathematics?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you solve that given different, basically what we did is solving a differential equation, but I have maintained the terminologies which are more related with the signals and systems. That's the only thing, and I applied a method of Laplace transform, unilateral Laplace transform in order to do that. But if you had done just like you do it in mathematics, so you will first find out the complementary function, and then you will find out the particular integral. Okay, so the solution style is different, but the same answer you can get from this method also. Only thing is that you have to just add and recognize which term is actually coming from the input. Okay, the So it is, this particular integral is also called as forced response. Okay, this is called forced response and this is called natural response. Okay, so there are two ways you can treat it. Okay, so that is, this is y. So now the way I have written, this is natural response plus forced response. So this way also I can classify, but what is more important for Snelson system is zero state response and zero input response. Okay, so that is why we prefer this method. But when you do it in the mathematical way, that information you will miss out. There is no way you can go back, but you can always come to this, right? If I say can you go back from this to that, that is from the mathematical result. If you are asked to go back, there is no way you can do that, because how do you split the natural response, you know, so that one part will go to the input, zero input response, and the other part will go to zero state response. So that is difficult. Okay, but there are ways to overcome those things, but it is more tedious. But going from the classification into zero state and zero input into the classification of natural response and forced response, that is more very easy, because you can recognize the term and then just add up the all other terms. Okay, so these are two different ways in which you can arrive at the same total response. The total response is the same whichever method you adopt. If you do all mathematics correctly, you should get same result. So you can try by using the mathematical principles that you learned to arrive at this solution, and check whether they are same or not. But I will not go into that, so it is not needed for us in this. So this is a very important topic, and it is very useful for you to solve your problems in your network theory subject. Okay, so where you will have a circuit given. Only thing is that one additional step you need to do is, first you need to write the differential equation and recognize what are the initial conditions. Okay, so once you do that, then the problem has been formulated in the way it has appeared in this particular question, okay, which we just now did. So if you do a one more step previous to this, your network can be represented into a differential equation with some initial conditions. So I will show you one examples, but you study that extensively, or you are supposed to study that extensively in your network theory class. So if it is a second order system, you will get a second order differential equation. If it is a first order system like an RC circuit or a RL circuit, you will get a first order differential equation. But same method can be applied there also to solve the way we have done here. Okay, so whatever you study here, it will be useful in network theory also. All right, so let's take a break.